Kwajalein medical professionals came together for the annual skills fair. The hands-on event helped staff refamiliarize themselves with medical equipment and procedures. Stephanie Gonzalez, the director of nurses at Kwajalein Hospital, spoke with AFN about this convention for the Hippocratically inclined.
Today we are having our annual skills fair. As you may or may not know, nursing and medical staff have so many clinical skills that they need to keep up with. And because we're a small hospital and we don't do a lot of them very often, once a year we put something together so that nurses can stop at the different stations and kind of get refreshers.
From anatomically correct dummies to quarantine isolation units, the hospital was set up to simulate multiple scenarios.
So how that goes is, for example, our doctors need to know how to put in a needle decompression. So they are specifically going to that station. We have our CRNA who does the airway. He's the person who would intubate you when you have surgery. So he's the one who's doing the airway station and everything that's involved with the breathing and putting in an airway, whether that's to intubate or a nasal airway if somebody needs just a little help breathing. We do them once a year, and that again, because we don't do some of those skills as often as we would in a bigger hospital in the United States, we just want to make sure that everybody knows when that situation comes up, everybody remembers, oh, this is how we do this. This is why we do it this way. And these are the equipment and supplies that I need in order to get everything together and have the whatever go smoothly. We did get some new supplies in. One of those is called a SKED, S-K-E-D, and it's a very thin piece of plastic. So if something happens and we need to evacuate a patient out, we have a way to safely put them on the SKED and get them downstairs, especially because if they're very sick, they're not going to be able to just run down the stairs. So we have a way to put them safely where they're packaged, where they're not going to fall out, and we can either take them down the ramp or take them down the stairs. So that's one of the new pieces of equipment that we got, and we're reviewing that as well.
Medical procedures are difficult and require pinpoint precision, and such exercises help hospital staff to prepare for the real thing.
It's just important for teamwork to know that I can count on you. You and I went through the same training. You got my back, I got yours. We can do this together. It's just a team effort of getting everybody here together.
Lieutenant Colonel David Taylor has recently arrived and survived quarantine, starting in his new role as the Reagan Test Site Range Director. What was your reaction when you learned you were coming to Kwajalein?
The way the system kind of works these days as far as assignments go, it was probably a bit of a pilot session, but we've always been able to pick, or dream of a place, and it used to be in the form of a spreadsheet with 200 positions, and they say rank them from 1 to 200, and you never really know where you stand. Well, now there's a site where you pick 1 through 100, and the people that are selecting for those positions get to see that you're interested. And it was one of my top choices from the very beginning. How cool would it be to go to the Ronald Reagan Ballistic Missile Defense Test Site in Kwajalein Atoll? It just so happens to be, even before the assignments came out, that my wife actually works in the Missile Defense Agency in an office of people who all of them have once upon a time lived on Kwaj. There's pictures of Kwaj in her office space and everything, so it's very excited about it.
Any thoughts on the range and its growing role for the SMDC?
That has been very fascinating, and I myself, coming into the job, have been very curious as to how the new role, being the Army service component to SpaceCom, as well as StratCom, and then how our future roles and responsibilities shake out with the new Space Force. How will all of that command structures that are dealing with space impact the role here? We still support all of their, all of the initiatives. It's an exciting time to be involved in all things space. And I just hope that we're able to continue down that path of focus on space capabilities, improving them, and matching our adversaries' progress in space.
What are you going to miss about Fort Polk?
I think the biggest thing I'll miss for sure are my people. I had an office of about 20 Department of the Army civilians, and I'll miss them. First of all, I almost cried at my going away speech, which I never thought I would have done, but the people end up growing on you, especially since they've just got hit by a hurricane. Power is out, services are kind of intermittent. My successor has been, kind of in a bit of a refugee status, about 2 hours away from his home because he's lost power due to industrial fires and so forth in the Lake Charles, Louisiana area.
So what do you think of Kwajalein so far?
What I most like about life on Kwajalein is the simplicity of it, right? The riding the bike to work and this kind of small town feel of it all. So I do enjoy the whole bike, as a vehicle kind of method. It's very simple. Helps you get out and just to commute to work, gives you a little bit of exercise. What I look forward to doing is eventually when my household items get here is that from my time being in Hawaii, I'm a bit of a snorkeler and I enjoy stand-up paddleboarding, and I have 2 paddle boards. I've been a big paddleboarder for quite some time. I'll look forward to actually doing it year-round, right? So,
what would be one highlight of your military career?
Early on in my career, I was an air defense officer. I was a short-range air defense, basically the Stinger missile launched from, a soldier's shoulder, much like a bazooka, nothing high-tech or fancy. It allowed me time to kind of do what people tend to think you do in the Army, which is like the foot soldier, infantry, kind of like the direct combat role, which is kind of funny because it's not as though I was selected for this job because I was an air defense officer. It's more of a acquisition job, but it's, space and missile defense, the command I belong to now is a command full of and led by air defense officers. So I find that kind of funny that the profession I ended up going away from, I ended up somehow connected to in my 22nd year of service. It's always funny, but my brother likes to remind me that was the highlight of my career, and it was like almost 2 decades ago. Not anymore. Now that I'm here, this seems to be the highlight of the career and has made me the most popular person in my family.
And any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. I chose to come to this location. I think it's very unique, and the awesome thing is I've never heard or talked to anyone that ever disliked their time in Kwajalein, and everyone I talked to, colleagues when I was leaving for it, were like, hey, make sure that I can get that job when you're done. When you're done, put in a good word for me so that I can get that job there.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel David Taylor, and welcome to Kwajalein Atoll.
The U.S. Army vessel Great Bridge is a special ship that works an important mission for the garrison and the Reagan Test Site. Outfitted with a massive deck and 9.5-ton ramp, the ship is a souped-up seagoing semi-truck that shuttles an array of equipment and materials between the islands. The AFN Kwajalein was lucky to get a spot on board to get a look at the ship and the crew that operate it with pride.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my office. Welcome aboard the USAV Great Bridge, LCU 2021. What do I do on the Great Bridge? I'm the chief mate on the Great Bridge and the relief captain. So I communicate between the captain and the crew. I take care of the crew and pass the captain's orders from him to them, and generally just make sure everything is ship shape and make sure we get where we're going. When we're doing cargo operations, I oversee the cargo operations, make sure the cargo gets safely on and off the vessel, make sure our crew is safe as the cargo comes on and off the vessel. Got a lot of heavy equipment that goes on and off, got a lot of earth moving machines, got a lot of 18-wheelers, that sort of thing, so we want to make sure that we're paying attention at all times. And then I drive the vessel as well. My office changes every day. As you can see, my office is underway right now. So no fluorescent light. And I like the people I work with. I enjoy the boat. I spent my entire career being told don't run into islands, and now my job is to go run into islands, so it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. The most unique feature on our vessel is the 9.5-ton ramp that sits right up forward on a bunch of big cable and chain assemblies. And that's what allows this vessel to do what it does. You know, we drive up to someplace, drop that ramp. It's a very nimble pickup truck. We punch way above our weight as far as getting it to small places. I'm continuously amazed at where we can fit this ship. My RMI guys are better trained than just about any other RMI employees that you can find on this island. They're firemen, they're sailors, they're safety officers, they're chefs, they're custodians. They do everything, and they have to have training in a very wide field. And I wish they got recognized more for it. Operation and you want to pull up to a beach, you drop that stern anchor, then you run out that stern cable on this winch, and then you use that to pull yourself back off of the beach. We're headed to the 01 level of the vessel. This is the living quarters of the vessel. This vessel is designed to do open ocean crossings. We've taken it back and forth to Australia, to the mainland of the United States, 18, 20-day crossings. So we're set up for open ocean. You gotta have a comfortable place for people to live, place to do your laundry, place to sleep, place to get cleaned up. So we'll go take a quick look at that. Some heads, 3-man head here. Stateroom might look something like this. Lots of safety gear, place to sleep. Don't get much more utilitarian than a steel bunk. Fully functional sick bay. We got it all in here. Anything you could possibly need to medically assist someone on a long ocean voyage. As you know, it used to be a military vessel, and so as such, they had an ammunition locker, which is always fun to check out. And the ammunition locker has a separate ventilation system and a separate fire system for when they were actually carrying munitions here. We do not have M79 grenade launcher ammunition on board. I just want to make that very clear. And then over here, we have an emergency generator. If we were to lose power, this emergency generator would sense a loss of power, and then it would kick on, so we would be able to steer the vessel, we'd be able to run our communications, and we'd be able to run our emergency gear.
What's up, man? How's it going? Let's go with that. This is my office. So, yeah, this is where all the magic happens. Well, not quite. This is where we monitor all the magic. At sea, you can't really call anybody. You don't have a power plant producing all the power, so we have to make our own. So we got 2 engines, KTA 50M Cummins engines. They're both 1250 horsepower, and they do a good job. They're medium speed diesels, but they take us around the atoll. They took us to California for shipyard, and do everything we need for them. So we're on this guy right now. We can switch over back and forth. For here, we have the alarm panels. So this just basically monitors everything on board. Any kind of alarm that goes off, we can see it here and then go inspect it outside. We got local throttles here too, which allows us to take control from the bridge if something happens up there. Eddie Jack is the assistant engineer on board. He knows everything inside and out. He's been on this vessel for years. Basically, when I jumped on board, he showed me everything. And Eddie, what do you got to say? Chief, injure him. Bow thruster, roger that. Eddie, come and give us bow thruster. Machine shop. Machine shop where we do all the repairs. Escape. I don't know if anybody has stuff on there. Where you get up? Get up there.
Again, for an open ocean voyage, you might be feeding 14 people, 15 people for just short of a month, so we have quite a bit of food storage. When we're just doing lagoon operations, we're not really stocked up, but when we're going overseas, this place is full of food. Freezer, fridge, food prep space here. And then if we're on an ocean going voyage, we have a chef on board. So we bring a chef on board. I use the term chef loosely, but we bring a cook on board and, 3 squares a day. It's beautiful. Part of the vessel's a 9.5-ton ramp. Sits on the front of the boat. It's controlled with these cable winches right here. So we move our way up into a landing area, a place where we have a dirt berm prepared, or the beach, as we plan on doing a little bit later on today. And the ramp just slowly lowers down, and the ramp is heavy enough that it provides us a solid pivot point for the entire vessel. 9.5 tons, she's heavy. And she'll keep you steady. And when you get ready to leave, when you get ready to move away, you just put your engines in reverse, pull the ramp up.
The man at the helm of the ship is Captain Ron. No, the other Captain Ron. Ron Sylvester says he's grateful for the stellar team that makes his job and the Great Bridge's overall mission possible day in and day out.
A captain is only good as his crew. Plain and simple. I mean, if you don't have a crew that understands what you're saying or doesn't respect what you're saying, you don't have a good ship. And that's why I'm so blessed here to have such a great crew. And it's been that way for the last 14 years. They're great.